Why Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is calling for more government regulation. Facebook CEO and co-founder Mark Zuckerberg appeared at a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. in April 2018. CEO Mark Zuckerberg hasn't been able to get ahead of the problems that plague his creation. So now, over the weekend, Zuckerberg called for government and regulators to play a more. Zuckerberg's ideas illustrate how anxious Facebook is to get a seat at the table as lawmakers hash out potential legislation that will affect its core business. Facebook and its Zuckerberg took AA when he visited Washington a year ago. He agreed in, I am. The US is well behind Europe when it comes to regulating technology companies. A year ago, California last year passed a strict. That's significant, an uphill battle. Still, Facebook faces an uphill battle. It has to get both Government regulation of the tech industry in the US has been proposed in the past, but hasn't gained much traction. Virginia's Warner, though Facebook supported the idea, the act hasn't been passed into law. The company rolled out. It's one of the areas that Facebook is calling on more guidance around. Deciding. Some advocacy groups are also already raising concerns about government rules around what content companies should pull down. Zuckerberg said in the op-ed that there needs to be standards around how to deal with harmful content and regulation. Chris Calabrese, the vice president of policy at the Center for Democracy and Technology, said he would worry about a one. Axios reported on that Zuckerberg will likely be returning to Washington to talk to lawmakers about the ideas he's proposed. A Facebook spoke, Zuckerberg could get a chilly reception. Republic. David Chillin, the days where tech could do no wrong are also over. When?
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.